to the December the 2nd, 2019 regular meeting of the Abingdon Town Council. Thank you very much for your attendance. We appreciate you getting out on this cold evening and participating in town government. Kim, would you call a roll, please?
Mr. Bradley.
Here.
Ms. Pledge.
Here.
Mr. Webb.
Here.
Ms. Patterson.
Here.
Mayor Craig.
Here. Vice Mayor Patterson is going to lead us in the pledge to the flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, with the council's permission, we're going to have the public comment period, and then we're going to move the auditors, and that's item, where is it?
K1.
Item A1.
A1.
Anyway, we're going to move that to the top of the agenda, but we'll have the public comment period now. As I call your name, if you'll come to the podium and state your name and address, and please try to limit your comments to 3 minutes. Our first speaker is Katie Brown from the Barter Theater.
Katie Brown, 169 East Main Street.
I don't think we can hear that. Can y'all
Can you
hear
not-
that?
Can you hear me?
I don't think, is the mic
Hello?
on?
Hello, hello?
It's okay.
Is
Yes.
it on?
Shall I
Try that
repeat it?
again.
Yeah,
If you don't
Katie
mind.
Brown, 169 East Main Street.
Okay, I
Great,
think that's good. Everybody hear that in the back? Good, thank you.
yes. Good evening. I want to officially introduce myself. As I said, I'm Katie Brown, and I'm the new producing artistic director at Barter Theater. I've been around, I may be a new face to some of you because I've been inside of the organization for a long time. I've worked inside the theater for 21 years. I was associate artistic director for 15 of those years, artistic director of the Barter Players. I directed about 100 of the shows that you've seen on stage, was in charge of casting, things like that. And even though you may not have seen me as much, I've been a part of building that place and helping with this community as well. I love the theater and I love this community. I think that people know Barter has been experiencing some challenges and shifts in demographics, shifts in the economy of the region, changes in the way people consume entertainment down to how close to the show people buy tickets. All of those things are shifting among other things, and they've all been affecting the theater. We're studying the best ways to move forward. Some of the things that we're doing are right-sizing Barter's budget at present. And one of the ways that we're doing that, as you all know, is having the season start a little bit later. Our first show will be on March 26th this year. Our spring shows have very, very rarely turned any kind of profit. We have done it largely to keep people coming through Abingdon, which is important to all of us. But at this time, it's not a sustainable thing for us to be doing for the spring. So that's one of the reasons that we'll be starting a little bit later. But we're doing some other things to right-size as well. We have a great team in place that's helping us do that. The actors, all of our technicians and production staff, our staff over in the administration office, everyone is behind this move, and we're doing it all together. Ross Egan, our managing director, will be speaking with you in a minute about some of the marketing initiatives that we're working on as well to move ourselves into the future. And we've been incredibly grateful for the support that we have received, both from the town, but also through the Urgent campaign, and also our annual fund that is in process right now. The main thing that I wanted to come here and say today was that I want us to be able to do it together. We want to work with the town. We want to work with the businesses in town to make all of this happen together. My belief has always been, since the day that I got here, that Barter belongs to everyone. So we look forward to working with you and moving into the future. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Jackie Blevins, also from the Barter.
Hi, I'm Jackie Blevins. I live at 708 Reynolds Street in Bristol, Tennessee. I am the Director of Advancement and External Affairs. I wanted to express gratitude and great thanks to Mayor Craig and Jim and all of the council members and community members that attended our Barter Bash. It was extremely successful. We raised around $30,000, so kind of exceeded our expectations. We are building a great partnership with a lot of the community businesses and corporations in the area, one of which is Martha, the Martha across the street. I've been working with Ian Lloyd-Jones, and they have become not only a season sponsor, but also a ticket sponsor, and in return, they are going to continue the Barter Bash for both for 2020 and 2021. So we're looking forward to sort of looking at that as a community builder and a friendship builder and just great opportunity. So thank you all very much for attending. Thank you, Mayor Craig. You and your wife attended. And I think it was a great time had by all. So I look forward to doing, as Katie mentioned, working with everyone and creating a great partnership with Abingdon and the Tri-Cities area. Thank you.
Jackie.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Ras Egan. He's also from the Barter.
Hi, Ross Egan. I live at 334 Gibson Street Southeast. As my predecessor said before me, I'm the managing director over at the Barter. I just got here in September, so I'm relatively new to the region, new to the area. And my focus is more on the business side in terms of marketing. I think it's very important. The time I've spent here, the short time I've spent here, has been very impactful in how, just the experience of coming to Abingdon and partaking in all the local businesses, including the Barter. But there's so many organizations in town and local businesses that I think it's important as we move forward into 2020, one of our key marketing initiatives is going to be partnering with local businesses in town and highlighting not only the Barter as a destination, but also, more of an experience of coming to the town. And just one of those pieces is seeing a show at Barter Theater. So we think that's very important. We're open to partnering with many businesses, as Jackie said. The Martha, we've rekindled our relationship with them, which has been very great, but we're also reaching out our director of marketing, especially on the restaurant front, to try to make sure that we're creating packages that will attract people from all over, and not even just the Tri-Cities, but even all over and wide. The other thing I want to address really just briefly, many of you probably know, a couple of weeks ago, we had one of our top ushers, volunteer ushers, a dear member of our family who was involved in a car accident on Main Street. He has since passed away, which is very unfortunate. When this accident took place, I was in contact with the police department as well as Jimmy, and I just want to thank everyone for taking action. We've been talking about ways to make sure that safety of our patrons, our staff, our volunteers is just primary for us. And anything we do moving forward, I really just appreciate the town's support that they have given us already. It is such an unfortunate situation. However, his family appreciated the support from the Barter. We're going to be doing a memorial from him in the spring, and they will be coming back to Abingdon. So they felt the love, if you will, from our family here in Abingdon. It is unfortunate. But I definitely appreciate, Jimmy and I had a phone conversation the morning after, so I think we all appreciated that at the Barter. So, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, that concludes our public comment period. We move to item K1, report from our auditors. Chuck, are you going to introduce? Jimmy's
yeah.
going to do it?
We
Okay.
have Mr. Jordan Owens from Brown Edwards and Company is here. He's going to distribute the audit, and he's going to give a short presentation, and if anybody has any questions afterwards, he'd be happy to answer them. Chuck and I met with Jordan and
Thank you, sir.
Billy Robinson in the back prior to, and went over a few of the management items and things we need to address that he'll probably summarize, but if there's any questions
Thank you.
you have on the management letter or anything like that, just let me know, and Chuck or I, yeah, we can answer those.
Thanks, sir.
Good evening, council. My name is Jordan Owens. I'm with Brown Edwards. I'm an audit manager. We have been the town's auditor for the previous 4 years, and I just want to start by thanking you all for the opportunity to come and present tonight. What I'm presenting is the fiscal year 2019 audit. So this is the June 30, 2019 financial statements. The very first document that we'll go over will be the comprehensive annual financial report. If you turn into the first few pages, we can go over the independent auditor's report. At the very second page of this report is our opinion, and our opinion for this financial statement is unmodified, which is a clean opinion on the financial statements. We did not have any material corrections or any material deviations that we had to report. Starting on page 8 is the Exhibit 1. This is the statement of net position for the town of Abingdon. This includes all the governmental activities and business type activities for the town. The total assets and deferred outflows for the year are $52,988,000, which is an increase of about $4 million over where it was at June 30, 2018. If we flip over to the next page, you can actually see the statement of activities for the town of Abingdon, and that's just going to show what the ending net position is, $30,680,000. One of the items I kind of wanted to highlight is Exhibit 3 on page 10. This shows just the general fund for the town of Abingdon as well as the non-major governmental funds. And I'll direct your attention to the bottom. We're talking about fund balances. There's a non-spendable category, a restricted category, and an unassigned category, which is generally what a lot of people tend to focus on. And the town of Abingdon's general fund unassigned fund balance at 6/30/19 was $5,095,439. If we flip to page 5, this will just show the statement of revenues, expenditures, and changes in fund balance for the general fund and non-major governmental funds. And that's showing an ending fund balance of $5.6 million at June 30, 2019. I'm going to skip forward just a little bit, and we're going to go over to page 15 and 16. These are the sewer fund information. And if anybody has any questions, I'm kind of moving through this a little bit fast, but just feel free to stop me and chime in. This shows the sewer fund on Exhibit 8. They have a unrestricted net position at June 30, 19 of $2.9 million. And that's in comparison, if you look at the next page, we have the statement of revenues, expenses, and changes. So the total operating expenses for the sewer fund was about $3 million, and you've got almost that in unrestricted net position at year end. The very next page is Exhibit 10. This will be the statement of cash flows for the sewer fund. This will show that the town of Abingdon had net cash provided by the operating activities of the sewer fund of over $1 million. Total cash did decrease a little bit from 6/30/18 to 19, but overall it was pretty close to a break-even year in terms of cash flow for the sewer fund. The next set of pages in the financial report are the notes to the financial statements. We're not going to necessarily go over these in any detail, but there are some significant notes in here that go over terms with the pension plan and with other post-employment benefits. That was a big standard that came out last year that we talked about with GASB 75. We'll flip on back towards the end of the document. There's statistical tables that are in here every year. One of the new items for June 30, 2019 was the town of Abingdon was required to have a single audit in accordance with the uniform guidance. So basically what triggered this was the Assistance to Firefighters grant, where the town spent some money on some breathing apparatus for their fire department and for other local volunteer fire departments. And that was such a big grant, it triggered a federal compliance audit.
That's on page 94.
yes, so-
Page 94.
Page 94 will show the schedule of expenditure of federal awards. And you can see the firefighters grant is line item, it's a CFDA number 97044. So there was $764,000 worth of federal grant money spent on the breathing apparatus. And that was
My
in,
understanding, correct me if I'm wrong, we didn't actually Abington didn't spend all that money. We were kind of like the pass-through. We spent about 250,000 or some odd, and then disperse it through some of the other agencies.
the town of Abington was kind of the fiscal agent in it,
Yeah.
and they made the purchase and then passed the equipment on to the other local fire departments. So that's what is new this year. This schedule of expenditure of federal awards wouldn't have been in a previous audit for the town for the past few years. But in connection with this, there's also a new report that we had to deliver, and that will be just actually behind this on the previous page. You'll see the independent auditor's report on compliance for each major program and on internal control over compliance requirements required by the uniform guidance. We did not note any deficiencies in internal control over compliance that we considered to be material weaknesses, and we did not note any compliance findings in connection with the federal audit. If we go forward just a couple pages to page 95, this is the total schedule of findings and question cost. So this summary will basically just go over everything for the audit for this set of financial statements. Bullet point number 1 says, the auditor's report expresses an unmodified opinion on the financial statements of the town of Abingdon. No significant deficiencies relating to the audit of the financial statement are reported in the Yellow Book Internal Control over Financial Reporting report. We did not find any instances of noncompliance material to the financial statements, and the report on compliance for the major federal program expressed an unmodified opinion. This just shows what we did audit, the Assistance to Firefighters grant, and talks about a little bit more informational stuff. You'll see in Part B, we did not disclose any findings on the financial statement audit. Part D says that we did not disclose any findings on the major federal award program audit. Section C is a state compliance. So these are compliance requirements that the state of Virginia has us test every single year. We've tested all of these items and more in previous audits, but there were 3 findings that we will report to the state. We have reported to the state already. 2019-001 is a Conflicts of Interest Act. 2019-002 is budget appropriations, and 2019-003 are highway maintenance disbursements and the timely filing of the Weldon Cooper survey. These 3 findings were actually present in the prior year. They're all low-level findings. They aren't anything that the state is likely to come back on and say anything. Compliance is a fairly black and white thing, so if the budget appropriations were less, if it's basically, if the town hasn't appropriated $10 and they spent 11, there's a difference of $1 that wasn't appropriated for. So that's kind of what this finding is talking about. These were the same as they were in the prior year. There are some management's response in here, but these are the state compliance findings. As I stated, there wasn't anything on the federal program. And if anybody has any questions on those, we can go over them. But there's also 2 other deliverables that we're going to talk about as well. So if we'll go to the next document, we'll go over the required communication with those charged with governance. It's the stapled document. So this is a letter that is addressed to town council that summarizes a lot of the items that are in the financial statements. It goes over significant audit findings. It talks about significant accounting estimates that are important to the financial statements, capital assets, other post-employment benefit liability, allowance for doubtful accounts associated with accounts receivable. These are all management estimates that are important to note. We also talk about certain financial statement disclosures that we think are more important. The only thing I want to kind of draw your attention to in this document is on page 2. We talk about corrected and uncorrected misstatements. We did not have any misstatements that we required the town to post during the course of our audit. We did have one misstatement that we did not require the town to post. That was just simply a construction invoice that got paid in FY '20 and probably should have been reported in FY '19, but it was small enough and insignificant enough that we did not require that. We didn't think it was something that needed to be done. So there was one uncorrected misstatement due to that construction invoice. And that's essentially the main takeaway from this deliverable. The last one that I want to talk about is the comments on internal control and other suggestions for your consideration. This is what's called a management letter. And essentially what we're going over in this are internal control deficiencies that we just want to recommend that these are things that could possibly improve your internal control structure. Page 3 is just the report on that. The actual comments and suggestions begin on page 5. We had 2 new comments for fiscal year 19. One was related to the unrecorded accounts payable that we just talked about, and one was just related to a segregation of duties. These are low-level findings. These are not significant or material to the financial statements, and they're not always economically feasible for the town or its staff to implement. Chuck and his accounting staff did a great job accommodating us and answering questions up to the last minute for us during the process. And these are not items that are things that have to be addressed or anything like that. We're just putting them out there just as a benefit to the town in case something does want to be taken. Page 6 and 7 are updates on prior year comments that we've reported on in previous years. Some of these have went away during the year and some are still present. None of them are significant enough for me to go over in any detail unless council would like to discuss something. And then beyond that, we have new GASB pronouncements that are coming down the pipeline. These are just going to be new accounting items that could impact the town in future years, and those will carry through to the page 18 at the end of the document. And that's everything that is on the management letter. If council has any questions, I'd be happy to go over anything in more detail.
Any questions, council?
Well, I don't have any at this time, but maybe later.
Thank you very much.
I appreciate it.
Thanks, sir.
Okay, now we'll get back to our regular agenda. We need to approve the minutes of the November the 4th, 2019 regular meeting, and November the 7th, capital improvement plan retreat, and the November the 12th work session. I mean, we can do these all together if there are no corrections. Are there any corrections to everybody needs to know? Okay, is there a motion?
I move we approve them all.
Motion by Mr. Bradley to approve all the minutes.
I'll second it.
Second by Mr. Webb. Any discussion? Kim, call roll, please.
Mr. Bradley.
Aye.
Ms. Quetch.
Aye.
Mr. Webb.
Aye.
Ms. Patterson.
Aye.
Mayor Craig.
Aye. We have no proclamations. We have a resolution appointing coordinator of emergency management, Mr. Moran.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, we discussed this at a previous meeting when we were discussing emergency operations, and it was determined the course of action to be compliant with state statute was just to appoint Chief Sullivan as the emergency management coordinator, the coordinator of emergency management. I wanted to make just one word change to this, just to clarify that. I think the thought was that the chief of police in that capacity, in that position, would be appointed to this. And so, under the now therefore be it resolved that Philip A. Sullivan, comma, is going to put as chief of police. Is it okay to say that? Okay. All right. Just to add, just to amend it to say as.
Okay,
Probably not a functional difference, but wanted to make sure that it was noted. So,
okay,
and that's all this does. So.
thank you.
Would you like this?
Council, is it okay to, the amendment okay with everybody?
It's fine. Should we read it out to the public?
It's in our packet.
Yeah,
If you want to read it, go ahead.
I can read it. Pursuant to Virginia Code 44-146.19B3, a coordinator of emergency management shall be appointed by town council to ensure integration of its organization into the County Emergency Management Organization. Now therefore be resolved that Philip A. Sullivan, as Chief of Police, is appointed as Coordinator of Emergency Management to perform the duties described in Virginia Code 44-146.19B3 on behalf of the town. And be it further resolved that a copy of this resolution will be placed in the official minutes of the town.
Okay, thank you, Jimmy. Council, what's your pleasure on the resolution?
I move we approve the resolution.
I second that.
Motion by Mr. Bradley to approve the resolution, second by Vice Mayor Patterson. Any discussion? Kim, call the roll, please.
Mr. Bradley.
Aye.
Mr. Clet, or Ms. Quetch, I'm sorry.
Aye.
Mr. Webb.
Aye.
Ms. Patterson.
Aye.
Mayor Craig.
Mr. Quest,
Thank you
for
for that
Washington.
compliment, Kim. All right, council, the next item on the agenda is petitions, public hearings, and first reading of ordinances. We have three first reading of ordinances. Item number one is is chapter 4, appointive officers. Mr. Morani.
Yes, this draft ordinance was discussed at the last work session. As is presented, there were only, I believe, a few minor modifications that we discussed. But essentially what this ordinance is doing is amending the code, setting some standards for terms or qualifications, and due to potential absences of various committee members, notice of meetings to ensure that when applicable, that the committees comply with FOIA. And also there was some additional language put in here about preference given to town residents, as we discussed at the last meeting. So it'll just gonna be end of the section to encompass all boards and commissions and committees, with the realization that we do have separate bylaws that each committee has, and there are some differences, varying between some of them, but this is just a more general, all-encompassing set of guidelines. And I think we did put a clause in here, if I remember correctly, at the end. I think you added that late about if this is in conflict, that the bylaws would control. That's correct. Okay. So this is first reading, so if anybody's got any questions that we didn't cover at the work session, let us know.
Second paragraph, the first line reads a little funny. I think there's an extra word in there somewhere.
Second paragraph,
Other than that, I'm happy with it.
okay. Okay, of the be it therefore ordained. Okay, yeah, she's got it, okay.
We do read these things.
That's good.
Well, you comprehended it, but some of us don't.
Sometimes.
Okay, council. We have, this is a somewhat new procedure for us. Our town attorney has recommended that we proceed in this matter. I'm gonna ask you, shall the proposal be rejected? And if I don't hear anything, we'll move on to the next item. So, shall the proposal be rejected?
We can
Do you
amend the
wanna
charter
reject
to-
it?
We can amend the charter to delete that language. That's what the charter says.
It's
It's the-
a
Can we
bit,
use a
it's a
synonym
bit
for
awkward,
rejected?
but
Does
it's
it
not,
have to be the
it's
term?
not awkward enough to go to the General Assembly.
Oh, no, I don't wanna do that.
Okay, I don't hear anybody that wants to reject it. Okay,
I think essentially that means that the only action that can be taken at the first reading is either nothing or it be rejected.
Throw it out there.
And if it's not rejected, then it moves.
Well, that's
to
true, because if it's
second.
rejected, there's no point in having a second reading. Makes sense.
okay, moving to item 2, first reading of ordinance to repeal, amend, and reenact Part 2, Code of Virginia 54 Parks and Recreation, Article 2.
Yes, so just as this section dealt with all boards and commissions, there are some boards and commissions that actually have separate provisions in the code. This particular, the rec commission is one in particular that does. The only thing that was changed in here, this was through discussions with Councilmember Webb, and based on some of the feedback we've received from some of the members, we just changed the terms. It is redlined. Previously, they had 3-year terms, and we're just changing them to 40 years. And then, oh, that's right, there was a language in there that the terms will expire annually. The term of 3 members will expire annually, which we thought was kind of odd, because at the end of each year, it just, so this just cleans that up and just removes that. Okay. And that's all we're doing. I forgot a lot over the Thanksgiving break.
Okay, any questions on that item? Okay, shall the proposal be rejected? I don't hear anything. Okay, the next item is first reading of ordinance to repeal, amend, and reenact Part 2, Code, Chapter Administration, Officers and Employees, Section 2-126. Mr. Morani.
Yes, sir. The only section we're changing here was just to be consistent with the charter. We discussed this at a previous work session. It's just in section 2-126 in subsection 2, where it just says, appoint such officers and employees, and we struck out the words as the council, and just put as the town manager shall determine and authorize, and we just removed the last portion of the sentence. And that's the only change that we did.
Any questions, council? Okay, shall the proposal be rejected? I don't hear anything. Okay, we'll move on. Second readings, we have none. Consideration of bids, we have none. Old business matters not on the agenda. Are there any matters not on the agenda that any council member would like to bring up?
Nope.
Okay, council member reports.
I'm gonna look at my calendar, while y'all go ahead and
You
report.
gonna look at your calendar? I'm
Yeah.
asking for reports, not calendars.
I know, but it's on my calendar, you see.
Oh.
I just
it's
want
on
y'all
your
to know I'm
calendar.
on my phone calendar, I'm
You
not
keep your
calling,
reports on your calendar. Well, it's a good thing it'll be short.
I'm not calling ET or anything on my phone, so.
All right. Al, do you have a report to make?
I had a great Thanksgiving. I hope everyone did.
Oh, good.
That's wonderful.
You look a little bit heavier, Al. Donna, do you have anything you want to report?
No, I was at the Hallmark grand opening, that was nice. Pretty busy month, but I enjoyed it.
Good. Derek, you want to go ahead? Do you have a report?
Sure. Very busy as normal, many meetings. I enjoyed our capital improvement plan retreat. That was a lot of fun, very informative. Enjoyed getting to talk to the department heads and grateful to serve.
You're on the budget committee, give us some money and we'll get it all done.
We had a finance committee meeting too.
Yes, we
That was
did.
good.
We had a finance meeting.
Looking forward to hearing the, report on the finance committee from y'all. We're looking forward for the updates.
All right, Cindy, you got your calendar
I did,
straightened
yes,
out?
Mayor Craig, I did. I've been to several meetings and also talked to several citizens about things in the town of Abbott and what's going on and what they need and want. And, also, I had the sincere honor of being the master of ceremony for the Veterans Park, ceremony on the 11th of November. And, our theme was Animals in Service, Always Faithful. And we had, you see, animals served in the military as well. Pigeons, horses, and dogs, to name a few. There were elephants and all kinds of other dolphins, and even a cat was an espionage cat at one time. I won't give y'all any details on that, but you can read up on that. But anyway, it was just an honor and a privilege. What I really enjoyed was seeing a lot of people out at that ceremony. There was over 400 kids, children from schools that participated and were there and observing. They got to see animals. Perhaps they've never even seen a horse or pet one. That's my thing. Y'all know me and my horses. But just giving honor to the veterans and the animals that served. And that was just amazing. I'd say probably there was close to 500, 600 people altogether there. It was, I'd say 500. I'm just guessing. But it was
Let me add
wonderful.
that that event was well attended and Ms. Patterson did a marvelous job.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, but they let the pigeons go home. The pigeons were from Grassy Creek, North Carolina. So at the end of the ceremony, they let them out, the homing pigeons, and they went back home to Grassy Creek. So it was really spectacular. I was very honored to be a part of that, and I'm honored to serve as a town council woman, and I do love my job, and I love this town. So thank you all so much for coming.
Thank you, and thank you for serving, Senator. I don't have anything to report except the infrastructure committee received its sewer report, and Mr. Dew was there, and I was really glad to see him. I've always enjoyed John, but he stressed me out as usual, and I don't know if I'm gonna make the next meeting or not.
Are you picking on the staff members?
Okay. I think that covers everything on the.
Can we go back to K1?
K1?
But not include the auditors?
Oh, did I skip over?
Well, that's okay, because we moved it up, but I had a couple things I wanted to, under the town manager.
Well,
staff
just go
report.
ahead
Okay.
and do it.
Couple things. Kim had something regarding with some conflicts of interest training.
Yes.
Okay.
As you know, as of July the 1st, they have changed the requirement for the Conflict of Interest Act. You have to have additional training in by December the 31st. We can schedule, Mayor Craig, you and Cindy may have gotten that training at VML. Did you get your certificate when you attended? No? Okay.
Well, I went to that, though, at VML.
We did, we went to VML, but did you participate in the FOIA, I guess it was the round, like a round table discussion?
This is the conflict
Did
of
you-
interest.
Did you get your certificate?
I didn't.
No.
All right.
Is this something you do
But
online?
they mentioned
We-
it.
Yes.
I got my certificate, yes,
Conflict of interest?
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, so you will,
I think we got a certificate, didn't we?
We did, but it was our mayor and our vice mayor certificate. We did the
Oh,
other.
okay.
I think this is a
Yeah.
specific training,
Yes.
which can be done online.
Yeah.
Oh, no, I don't
It
think.
is specific to conflict of interest, right?
Yes.
And just to
Okay.
explain that, we could go to different, if you will, it was kind of a roundtable discussion section, and they had different discussions and topics, and so we couldn't all be at the same thing. So some of us chose different ones, and I didn't get to go to that one, so I would be interested in taking that online.
Well,
if you
Donna,
would like,
Donna and I went to.
We did. Can we contact them to see if we are
Yeah.
entitled to the certificate, or do we just need to move forward with whatever you tell us to do?
I can
Okay.
contact, but I think you said you
I
can.
did.
I'll
Donna
check
and I
on-
went to that, I got confused. I thought Cindy and I went to a different.
So did me and Jenny.
And while we're on that subject, I thought we were supposed to get another certificate just for continuing on with, Mayor Craig and I were there for 2 days prior to, and then we were there 2 more days for the rest of the training.
This is
So-
just a specific thing that you get from the
Yeah.
conflict of interest.
But they mentioned getting another certificate for the council members.
Yeah.
So,
This is
well, I
something
haven't
else.
gotten that
If you take the
one.
online class, then they'll issue
Yeah.
a specific certificate.
This one's
I can
required
give you
by
training,
law.
you can go to other training, but I think the easiest way is just to do it online, and they, that's the one that they put together, and that's the one that they give the certificate for, so that's probably the easiest way to do it.
But I mean, the rest of the training as a council member, I'll call Michelle Gowdy and ask her about that.
Yes, I
You-
would.
You go ahead and,
We can get together as a group if you'd like to. I think it's about an hour and a half online video. I will be able to certify you at that time that you have
Okay.
taken. So you just let me know if you want to do it as a group, or if you'd like to receive the link yourself, and then you would just have to report back to me that you did. I have to do it for the record, that you completed that.
If-
we
if
can
I
all
don't-
get together if you want to.
If I don't do it, are they gonna come repossess my dog?
Probably not your dog.
We all get together and do a meeting, you know.
If you don't do it, then all votes you take after January 1st are
Well,
invalid.
that doesn't matter.
Probably would be anyway.
Well, it wouldn't matter if we met, would it?
Probably-
Do you need for us to let you know how we wanna do it now?
Yes, sir, if you don't mind, and we'll
Okay.
schedule a time, but I know we're 3 weeks from Christmas and the holidays and
Okay, well,
things, so.
give
Has
us,
to be
give
done
us the
by-
alternatives and we'll choose one.
You can still do both, you can say, hey, if anybody wants to do it, we'll be here before the work session or something like that.
Yes, we can
And then
do
if you can
that.
come, great, if not, you can do it on your
You
own.
wanna do it before the work session?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
fine.
Okay.
What
Uh,
day is
Yeah,
it?
it has to be before.
Can you make it before we do it?
We've got a
We have a
finance
finance
committee meeting that,
The same
that
day?
morning, and then we try to do it close enough.
Okay,
to
let's
work.
do it before the work session.
Okay,
The
Jim will
December,
send an email out.
December work session, right?
yes.
All right.
Yeah, just send us an email.
I do have another item. Chief Sullivan I'm gonna let, Chief, I'm gonna let you explain what's going on with the academy, if you don't mind coming up. There's a graduation tomorrow. He just wanted to make everybody aware of it.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Normally I'm on top of these things. The last few months or so has been a little off. We have 2 officers graduating Police Academy tomorrow at 10 o'clock. And I know it's short notice, but I do want to extend the invitation. The graduation is at the Highlands Fellowship Bristol campus, which is between exit 5 and exit 7 on Bonham Road. Graduation starts at 10, lasts about an hour. Like I said, we do have 2 graduating if you can attend. I would say I'd offer you a ride, but I've got to be down there early. But just to let you know.
Did you
So,
say at 10?
At 10.
I don't know that I can make, I've got guests at the B&B. I've got 6 tomorrow. I'm not sure, but I'd love to be there.
I
If
do
can,
apologize for the late notice.
If
but-
I can, I'd come, but I don't think I'm gonna be able to.
Sure, well.
But
we-
give them our best if I don't get to come.
Well, and we just,
Who are the 2 officers?
um,
Oh, no, I would've.
Officer Hay and Officer Huddleston, sorry.
That's okay.
I know they were both H's, Officer Hay and Officer Huddleston.
Okay.
And we did just hire somebody. So there'll be another chance,
Okay.
in May. We'll have another graduation, so, just to let you know.
Well, thank you.
Last item, Mayor, it was just a note I wanted to make everybody aware of. After we had the capital improvement plan retreat meeting, I had this long discussion with Stephanie Davis, who I thought did a really good job and has been a really good help. It's very, very good to have somebody else coming from the outside and look at things. She told me something that I kind of took very seriously, and it was, you need to get a facilities manager. And I thought about it, and it kind of really struck when, we had the chief coming to present on painting the walls and doing woodwork, and then you have Jason Boswell, who's our director of planning, managing all these various facilities, and we've got Jane, who's coming about tourism building, and Rick's involved and stuff. So what we did was, we talked about it as a staff. I talked to Jason, and John, and others, and we determined that it would be best to have a position within the Department of Public Works, and it will be a facilities manager position. We actually already have started advertising for the position. We wanted, because our facilities are not getting any younger, and we want to stay on top of these. So we've got it out there. It probably won't happen until the first part of the year, but I just wanted to make everybody aware of that. I was going to email everybody before the holidays, but I had to run out, and I thought maybe if you see an ad or something like that, you know what that's about. So I'll keep everybody posted on that. But I think it's sorely needed and will actually help the rest of our staff. I look at Jason Boswell and Rick Statzer as more of a resource to that person as it pertains to historic issues with Jason, historic preservation and compliance, and with Rick as far as the code. But getting somebody who's got a background in that and who can also assist Public Works. We even talked about, I think it was either Tyler or you talked about even utilizing that person to help with the meadows and some of the grounds maintenance out there with the detention and the drainage. So we'll throw a lot of stuff at this person. It'll really be helpful. So anyways, just want to throw that out there if anybody's got any questions.
Yeah, I saw the ad in the paper. I think it's a great idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's a really good move. We've been hit and miss on this, and Rick and Jason, it really
Well,
doesn't fall into their.
It doesn't. I mean, I think things evolved. We had a personnel that had taken on some of those things, but the core responsibility of our director of planning is not maintaining facilities. That's not his core mission. Rick Statzer is supposed to be overseeing the building construction and not, dealing with, smaller items or sometimes time-consuming items with our own facilities. and it takes away from what his primary responsibilities are. So I think this will make all of our staff more productive, because we'll be able to get things done. And then we have somebody who's objective from the outside, you know, coming in and saying, look, this needs to be done, and not from a department saying, hey, I need this brand new thing. And it's good to have someone who's objective to say, hey, we need this because, and prioritize it.
Prioritize,
So-
yeah.
Okay.
That's all I have, Mayor.
All right, that concludes our regular session. We have some appointments to make. Council, we have more than one candidate for some of these positions, so we normally go into closed session for that. You want to close session to make the appointment? We're not gonna make the appointments in closed session, we'll discuss them. Okay. All right, Cindy, would you make the motion?
Sure. I'd like to make a motion to go into closed session pursuant to the Code of Virginia 1950 as amended, Section 2.2-3711A1, for the purpose of considering applications for appointment for position on the Abingdon Redevelopment and Housing Authority Tourism Advisory Committee and/or Sustain Abingdon.
Motion by Mr. Patterson to go into closed session. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Bradley. Any discussion? Kim, call roll, please.
Mr. Bradley.
Aye.
Ms. Quetch.
Aye.
Mr. Webb.
Aye.
Ms. Patterson.
Aye.
Mayor Crawford.
Aye. Mr. Webb. Any discussion? Kim, call a roll, please.
Mr. Bradley?
Aye.
Ms. Quetch?
Aye.
Mr. Webb?
Aye.
Ms. Patterson?
Aye.
Mayor Craig?
Aye. Okay, we need to do the certification.
Yes, sir. I move that the town council certify that in the closed session just concluded, nothing was discussed except the matter or matters specifically identified in the motion to convene in closed session and lawfully permitted to be discussed under the provisions of the Virginia Freedom of Information Act cited in that motion.
Motion by Mr. Webb. Oh, I'm sorry. Kim, call a roll, please.
Mr. Bradley, do you so certify?
I so certify.
Ms. Quetch?
I so certify.
Mr. Webb?
I so certify.
Ms. Patterson?
I so certify.
Mayor Craig?
I so certify. Okay, we need to make some appointments. The Redevelopment and Housing Authority.
I move we reappoint Mike Rush for 4-year term.
I'll second that.
Motion by Mr. Bradley to reappoint Mike Rush, second by Ms. Quetch. Any discussion? Kim, call roll, please.
Mr. Bradley?
Aye.
Ms. Quetch?
Aye.
Mr. Webb?
Aye.
Ms. Patterson?
Aye.
Mayor Craig?
Aye. We may need to make 2 appointments to the Tourism Advisory Committee. What's your pleasure?
I'd make an appointment to fill the hotel motel entity with Mr. Samir Patel.
Motion by Mr. Webb to appoint Mr. Patel,
I'll second that.
second by Ms. Webb.
Quetch.
I'm by Ms. Quetch. Oh, my God, it's,
It's okay.
John
You're
Dee's
fine.
out there. and I'm- Yeah,
Yeah.
okay,
No.
any discussion?
I'm sorry, Mayor Craig, I call that stupid to do that.
Call
Mr.
roll,
Bradley?
please, Kim.
Aye.
Ms. Quetch?
Aye.
Mr. Webb?
Aye.
Ms. Patterson?
Aye.
Mayor Craig?
We need to make an appointment to the William King Museum, a representative from the William King Museum of Art to the Tourism Advisory Committee.
I make a motion that we appoint Kelly Hotella to the Arts and Culture from William King.
I'll second that.
Motion by Ms. Quetch to appoint, repeat the name, please, Kim.
Kelly High Eagle, is that correct?
Patella.
Hotella.
Okay. Second by Mr. Webb. Any discussion? Kim, call roll, please.
Mr. Bradley?
Aye.
Ms. Quetch?
Aye.
Mr. Webb?
Aye.
Ms. Patterson?
Aye.
Mayor Craig?
We need to make an appointment to the Sustained Avenue Committee.
Yes, we'll be making an appointment to fill the expired term of Melissa Kalb, who's ineligible to serve an additional two-year term. And I'd like to name Mr. Tim Wade to fill the position, please.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Patterson to appoint Tim Wade to the Sustained Avenue Commission.
Yes.
Second by Mr. Bradley. Any discussion? Kim, call a roll, please.
Mr. Bradley?
Aye.
Ms. Quetch?
Aye.
Mr. Webb?
Aye.
Ms. Patterson?
Aye.
Mayor Craig?
Aye. Okay, council, anything else? Speak now, forever hold your peace.
Mayor, I do have one announcement.
All right, go ahead.
The Christmas parade, December, it's my first one, so I have to read when it was. December the 7th at 6 p.m. The Chief McCormick has an antique fire truck. It will be at the fire department. Just show up like around 5:30. I think it's approximately 5:30. So if any of the council members, town officials want.
Show up 5:30.
5:30 at the fire department if you would like to ride in the antique fire truck.
Okay.
Just FYI, I work till 6.
Do you have
I will
to,
not be in the fire truck.
let me ask you a question. Do you have to ride in the fire truck with someone that's gonna be dressed in a clown suit or something like that?
No, not required.
It's optional, no?
Thursday.
Okay, meeting's adjourned.
Tree lighting, at 6.
Tree lighting.
There's a tree lighting at 6 on Thursday.
Humphreys Park.
Humphreys Park.
Lowe's Humphreys Park.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
I'm told you're responsible for these little boxes.
You hold me responsible for them?
I'm told you are.
Oh.
Is that,
Well, Kim actually got them for us.
oh, I was worried about it being a bomb, but if
No,
Kim did it, it's,
I thought that I'd like to
Kim did it, it's clean.
let you all know that I've enjoyed serving with you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. At what time was that tree lighting again? 5 o'clock.
Yes.
6 o'clock.
This is nice.
I don't think I'm gonna open mine now. Can I wait till